You're listening to the Just Wingin' It podcast. Because let's be honest, none of us really know what we're doing.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Alex Lyons here from Just Wingin' It. And many creatives are kind of struggling right now in, everything that's going on. But in this situation that everybody's in, it's also an opportunity for us to thrive and try new things. From artists to video producers to musicians, there's an opportunity to try new things. And today, when I thought about people who are always trying new things and that are winging it and that are always flexible to hearing what they should be doing next, I thought of the Chabros, the Mr. Michael and Mr. John Chabro. How y'all doing today?
Well, we're doing great, doing awesome. This is almost day 20-something in quarantine, and I guess we're not crazy yet, so we're doing great.
Yet is the key word of that sentence, yet, because who knows? By the time y'all listen to this, they'll be coloring on the walls, or who knows?
Yeah, just winging it here. We're doing great.
Also, how about you, John?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing very well. Rested, enjoying this time of getting to have a break, actually. So I'm pretty well, staying inside as much as I can.
That's fantastic. John and Michael are worship leaders out of a church in Milwaukee, and they have ministry all over the country doing various worship leading things. But in addition to that, your story kind of begins a little bit before you started things in Milwaukee. Do you want to give us a little bit of background of just kind of how you've been winging it for a while?
Yes, I guess maybe if we think about the word wing it, I can say the last 12 years of my life can go like towards that word. I mean, that word could be like one theme that everything happened in my life goes underneath that. So John and I are originally from Syria. And I guess now people are, oh my gosh, yes, they're winging it, maybe. So we're originally from Syria. We came to the United States after the war started. So we came as refugees. And the part of our ministry started back home, but it was relaunched kind of here. We come back, we come from a Christian home. My father is a pastor. My mom is a worship leader. And in fact, until this day in Syria, they are still operating a church there. My dad is the lead pastor there. And my mom's still the choir music director. Under a lockdown as well. So they're winging it. But I would say, to just go back to the story, we grew up in a normal Christian home. We grew up in the church. And then at some point, we were in college, and all of a sudden, life was okay, and all of a sudden, we heard bombs dropping on our city, and that's the city of Aleppo. And since that week of 2012, in July, I think everything was I was winging everything in my life. So I had to pack my entire life in a small suitcase. And in less than a week, I was a refugee in Lebanon, fleeing the conflict in Syria. A year after that, we got visas, and then we came to the U.S. And we arrived here in 2014. And since then, we are here. We came here as a refugee, and now we are currently worship leaders at a local church in Milwaukee called Eastbrook Church. I'm staff there. I do worship there, and I oversee some tech. So I'm a director of worship and tech arts. John helps me always with ministry. So he's not on staff at church, but he volunteers like he's on staff,
Hey, there's only 3 positions at church. It's volunteer, part-time, full-time, and full-time live there. Those are the only 3 positions that are available to you if you are at church.
Actually, we live almost at church. I live less than 20 feet from church. It's across the street, I could walk across the street, woo,
you can social distance from your front yard. There you go.
Absolutely. Which has been a blessing actually during this season. So if we're recording services on certain days, we don't do it on Sunday. I can go anytime and grab something or figure out some wiring thing and meet with the production team at any time during the day since no one is there. So yeah, I mean, this has been our life the last couple of years. When we came to the United States, there's one thing about our Chabro ministry or Chabros ministry. We thought that this was it. We would be lucky if a church would allow us to lead worship with them. And God started opening a door. I was ready. I was prepared in my heart to let go of this thing that I started back home, which is my band and all of that, and doing worship on the side other than church services. But God started to open an opportunity, not just in my local church, but with other local musicians in Milwaukee started, and then the circle started going like kind of wider and wider. We've done some work in Chicago. So John and I, we were like really called to this again. We felt, I was like, is God reviving this dream again? So we decided to start Chabros Music. And since like 2014, like summer of 2014, we started like playing music here and there, and things are developing now. We have like some YouTube channel, Facebook stuff, Instagram things. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So when you emigrated here, you know, as you said, your entire contents of your life were in a bag, and you basically had to figure it out on the fly. What do you think? How were you able to do that? Like, what did you use to be able to figure out to be able to figure out this new environment? How were you able to be sustained kind of during that time? And what did you just kind of, where did that come from? That ability to kind of adjust to that new reality?
Well, I think the answer to that, it's gonna sound cheesy and simple, but it's Jesus. I mean, we are. I would say the church was one of the major, played one of the major roles in our story. Whether the church in Lebanon, where we were refugees, and then through connection with the church in Jordan that had connection with the church in Milwaukee. So all that worked out through the church. And then when we got here, the church received us. Like, we were overwhelmed by the love of people of the church. So we didn't have status. It was about a year, or like, it was actually about 2.5 years until we were able to get a solid status. And throughout the first year and a half, we can't be on our own. We don't have jobs. We don't have IDs, anything valid to work or get by or wing it with. So we literally just lived with people from the church. We were so invested at the church, trying to just help in any ministry that asked us to help, like moving furniture ministry, food pantries, high school, Sunday school, missions, worship as well. Yeah, like anything people asked us. And then I think, so my answer would be like the church was a big part of finding a way, finding a track, finding a place to be and just to be invested, to grow, to learn the culture, what you need, what it takes to actually be on your own in the United States. Yeah. Like, we learned all these things from just doing life with people from the church.
Yeah. I think to add one more thing, I remember like
he
finding
always
myself,
wanted to add things.
Yeah. You can tell here, there is some brother like situation going on. Just like one small thing here, I truly like it was not easy. Like, winging it is not easy, and so many times I remember like we used to like help with so many different ministries, and sometimes like we would help with people, and that would require us waking up so early, you know, and all of that. I remember like during that time of like before we leave the house, I'd open my Bible and I read those verses, especially those Psalms that David talks about, like, oh, why, when are you going to come to help me? Why have you forsaken me? The Lord of hosts is coming to help me. All of these kind of Psalms, and my tears would drip on my Bible, you know. But I would say number one was the presence of God, and number two was the church, as John mentioned. Like I think you don't know how much you can handle unless you are in the situation. You are part of it. You are like almost like in it, you know. And I think now these days we find ourselves in this situation that nobody was trained for such a situation like COVID-19. It was the same way for us. Like, we were not trained for a situation, or how to be refugees, how to be a successful refugee in 3 days, how to be a successful producer under COVID-19. Like, I think all of us are experiencing this tough time, and I think we need to lean on Jesus. We need to lean on his promises, you know.
So would you say that your like experiences
the
as
foundation
being able to
of how we survived? Sorry, I think you cut out. Can you ask your question again?
No, you're good. You're good. I was gonna say, do you think your experience in emigrating here as a refugee kind of prepared you to be able to be flexible in new realities? I'll just say it like this: I grew up in foster care, and so I grew up where I would be in house A, and then all of a sudden, at the drop of a dime, I'll have to shove all my stuff in a black plastic garbage bag, and then go to a new house. And now this is my new reality, and I have to assess, okay, this is a safe person. Okay, this is not a safe person. Okay, this is how I need to adjust. And do you think right now, where we don't know which way is up, we don't know, we're going to be in here for a month, a year, who knows?
Yes.
Do you think some of the lessons that you learned in emigrating to the U.S. as a refugee has prepared you for such a time as this to be able to wing it well, to produce well in the midst of the situation that we're in?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think definitely, like, we live now in such a time of lot of uncertainties. So like nothing is known, and being a refugee is definitely an experience of a long time of not knowing what's going to happen next, and a lot of question marks about yourself, your friends, your life, your future, your back. So, I mean, your past. So, yes, definitely, this our experience have helped us a lot just to navigate through this time of COVID-19, and not to brag, not to sound like, oh, this is a piece of cake, but this the COVID-19 time is or has been way easier. Navigating through this time has been way easier personally, in comparison to like coming to the US, figuring out life, and living with the unknown for an extended amount of time. So yes, definitely the experience have helped.
So with your experience in just being able to adjust to these new realities, what advice would you give to, say, somebody who is maybe struggling, okay, this was my system, this was my pattern, this is what my life, and now it's just kind of has dissipated and disappeared. What advice would you give to people to be able to help adjust to this new reality?
This is a good question. Wow. That's a good question.
Take your time. We can always cut it,
No, this is a great question. I would say, absolutely, we're in a situation that, first, no one is trained for. Second, we cannot call the manager and complain about it, there is no such thing in this. We are on our own to figure things out. So I would say my two things is actually, I was reading this verse this morning. It's from Proverbs 3:5 is do not lean on your understanding, but rely on the Lord. It's something like that. I read it in Arabic. I read still my Bible in Arabic. So
do not lean onto your own understanding, but trust in the Lord.
In all your ways, He will make your path straight. I think something like that. So that verse was laying on my heart this morning. And I think this is such a verse for this time. Not that I'm like, oh my gosh, I can give wisdom like this to people. No, not anything like that. We're all in this. And we all need with anything that we are facing, whether it's small thing in our family, whether it's something as simple as like a small buffering thing that's not happening yet, anything that happening at church. And I think there is some normal thing, like be patient. Maybe we were living our best life, John and I had 3-4 gigs that were canceled. We're playing for conferences, mission conferences, and
things
sharing.
are still being canceled.
And until this day, till this morning, I'm receiving emails to, as the quarantine is extended. I think God is trying to whisper something to us. Maybe we need to figure out new ways. And I think everybody can teach me about how to figure out new ways, probably, in doing things. But there is something behind all of this is happening, that God still can use this situation for our good. I truly believe with all my heart that no matter how hard my life gets, this is from previous experience, from my experience under the quarantine right now, that the Lord of heaven is in control. This is not surprising Jesus. Jesus sitting in heaven, and everything is in between his hands, like this, in between his palms. And I believe that he's not surprised by any mean of anything like this. He's not caught off guard. He's still in control. He's still in heaven, and he's ruling over this earth. And perhaps we can little bit right now slow down, Yes, think of other creative things to do in order of our, whether it's music, it's church services, or whatever tech things we're doing, websites, cinematography, and see how we can be part of the kingdom of God. I think God is taking the church outside of the building. I miss the church. I miss the building. I miss the loud crowd on Sunday. I miss the choir.
Sure.
But I think God is doing something right now. How can we best to our neighbors? How can we?
That's really
to
good,
all of
man.
that. Yeah.
That's really good. Sometimes I think that's the pressure. Everybody's like, well, I have to make a podcast, or I have to make a thing, or I have to drop my new album. Don't waste your quarantine. And maybe the best thing that we can do right now is nothing, and listen, and wait. And that obviously, in shutting everything down, it's very clear that attention is trying to be focused into a singular and exclusive attention. So that's really good stuff there, guys. Regarding all your music and such, how are you, there's many worship leaders across the country that are kind of dealing with this. How are you continuing to lead your congregation in worship through this time? What methods are you using? What things have you tried that differently that you maybe haven't tried before? What has worked? What has crashed and burned and didn't work? Just kind of all those things.
Well, thankfully, nothing has majorly crashed yet.
That's good.
And yet is at the end. Okay.
That's good.
I think church-wise, we're stretched in every possible way, but we're making it happen. We basically right now. Can I get more techie a little bit? Just a little bit.
Oh yeah, dude, go for it.
So we multi-track the service. I take it and mix it, and our production team at church does the video. So we have 5 to 7 DSLRs, depends. We bring our own personal ones, the churches, and we try to match the image, and all of that. They've been doing a really good job, the worship team and the production team, and so we put it all together. We do this old school thing, syncing, with a clap, at the beginning.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I know programs can do it, but we still do it this way in case.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So
have a backup.
Yes, exactly. We sync it together and we just prime it on Sunday morning, and the response has been amazing. Things that have not worked. Well, you know what? This is something funny that I record all the time at home, and always there is something called sample rate, and sample rate on your machine has to match your computer. And one time I forgot to change it, and the computer kept crashing because it was downsizing the sample rate all the time. And I'm like, oh, how did I miss this? It was nothing that I didn't know. It was just I missed it.
For sure.
This is one funny thing. Yeah.
No, I mean we've had a couple interviews that there's been so much lag. There would it would go, and then I'd have to resync every 3 minutes because
oh my goodness.
Because so. Yeah, man, we're all just kind of figuring this out on the fly, and that's a good thing. I think there's, as you said before, there is no school, there's class of how to survive and do ministry in a quarantine, and I think that's a freedom in that allows you the ability. There's no expert, there's no YouTube channel that is dedicated to XYZ, or here's how this mega church has done this before, let's just do it like them. I think everybody is winging it and figuring out, which is I think a good thing, because it allows it to be an equalizer that we're all on the same plane. And it allows us to try new things and fail, because there's what is failure right now because everybody's trying something new. And I think that's a freedom that allows us as artists, as creatives to see, okay, there's this idea. I've always wanted to do X. Let's try. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, cool. Then we won't do that again. But at least we got it out of our brain. So what are some new things you guys got coming down the pike, or some new things that you guys are maybe going to try, you think?
Definitely. I mean, we've been doing a lot of music covers in our place. We've invested in a couple cameras and some music gear, so we've utilized that. And we're working on a new song right now, so hopefully it'll be coming out soon. So yeah, and I think 3 practical things I've been doing as just a person. So like my brother Michael works for a church full time, so he's been pretty busy with during this whole time of quarantine. But I have 3 practical advice or things I think like I've been doing lately. Is well, the first thing is, I don't know if you're like me, but I buy a lot of music gear and like equipments and stuff, but I only like figure out 10 or use 10 or 20% of its potential. So it's been the time of me coming back to my gear that I spent tons of money on, try to learn new things, and maybe try to write music. And you're not going to be able to write good music if you're writing Christian music if you don't have a solid relationship with Jesus and you're learning His word every day. So spend time with God. Try to write music, and then figure out your gear that you've bought. Learn His, like, to really lean on.
That was second or third?
This is the second. Lean on His peace. So learn what's God's peace like. What does it do? How does it relate it to your life? And really trust and get into a place where you can enjoy His presence and that peace. And that's your new reality in this quarantine. And thirdly, like, if you get into production and if you start doing things, don't be too hard on yourself. Like,
Good.
breathe. Like, okay, you're doing a good job. Keep it up.
I feel like he was almost turning to me. He's like, don't be too hard on yourself.
Like, don't make like a crazy timeline. Don't freak out like, oh my gosh, what if the quarantine ends tomorrow? Well, congratulations, we got another month, you guys. So this is a gift. Take it as a gift. Like this time, learn new things, be productive, but also just take it easy and breathe.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Yeah, taking this time to rest, taking this time to learn, taking this time to breathe, I think is good things. So I think there's so much pressure during this time is that like, oh man, I got to do this thing or this thing or this thing, so many media or worship superheroes right now. Like I need to make church happen. It's up to me. I need to make sure that we have a video and it needs to be live streamed in 4K with graphics that roll in and etc. But but it ain't up to any of us. Like if you had a iPhone singing Amazing Grace at a stand-up piano, and the presence of God can still show up in that moment.
Amen.
And don't need live stream to 5 different to Twitch and everything all at the same time.
Exactly.
I think that heart is good to hear. Is good to hear because I think that a lot of creatives right now are putting pressure on themselves when you have been given time to work in rather than just working on. And so that's really good stuff, guys.
Absolutely.
All right. So final question, who is the better musician?
I think he's a better techie guy, but I am a better musician.
He's a better musician. I just play guitar and sing.
But he's like he does all the video stuff. He does all the editing and audio editing, and he knows all the cables. And he always buys us these interfaces that not necessarily the best, but he spends a lot of money on them. And then then he complains about them. So I question it. Okay, who uses this? Elevation, Chris Tomlin. Like, why do you buy it? Why do you drop like a couple $1,000 on this? So like, yeah, he's the one who's behind all the work. I'm just there to play some music.
So he's better musician than me.
But he's like in charge, basically.
There it is. That's fantastic, guys. Well, John and Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you getting to hear your heart and being able to see how the Lord has equipped you for such a time as this to be able to respond on the fly to Just Wing It. Where can we find you guys since everybody's probably going to be done Netflixing and YouTube and they're looking for 40 billion other things to watch? Where can we find and hear you guys' music and just pub all your stuff, man?
Yes. Chabros Music, CHABROS Music, on all streaming music platforms, social media platforms. Our website is chabrosmusic.com. We've got some songs coming out soon. Quarantine is helpful, not pushing too hard, just hard enough, not too much. So we have 2 singles now there, but we will have hopefully this year a full album. But yeah, this is it pretty much. We try to do every week a YouTube. We're turning to a YouTuber right now. You can take
Hey,
this as a
hashtag
thumbnail.
influencers. Hashtag influencers.
This was our thumbnail pause. You know, so
There it
yes,
is.
exactly. So we're trying to release like a worship cover every week. So yeah, this is it pretty much.
That's fantastic,
Yeah.
guys. Well, thanks very much for joining us. You can find the Chabros at chabrosmusic.com, as they said. Wherever you guys are at in this time, just remember to breathe. Just remember to take a deep breath, to maybe, and in the silence, be able to hear clearly what you're supposed to be doing. And
Amen.
if nobody else is saying it, remember that you are loved, you are not alone, and you are seen, and we're all here together.
Amen.
Just winging it.